Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I make scrub caps. So I have a folded piece of fabric. The Easter fabric on the bottom is what we're actually going to be using to make our hats. This Valentine's Day fabric is leftover fabric that I had from a hat that I previously made. And the same thing with the Yoda fabric, the baby Yoda. That's what we'll be using to make the brim. So I lay the Valentine's Day or my 20 by 20 cutout circle onto the new fabric that I like. And then what I've done with the brim, which is like fabric folded on a curve cut in basically like a triangle shape, I'm putting those on the sides to make sure that they fit, because I want to at the end create 2 brims and 2 circle caps to make 2 full scrub caps. So I'm cutting one side out, and I'm actually going to then fold that side over so that it's symmetrical, cut down, and then I'm going to have the perfect amount needed for the brim. And when I say brim, this is the part that's going to sit on your forehead when you wear the cap. So now I take that exact same piece that I just cut out, and I'm doing the same thing on the other side so that I have 2 brims, like I said, and then 2 circle pieces for the cap. Now that we have our circles cut out, I'm going to show you how I do pleats. First though, with directional fabric, you want to make sure that you're paying attention to how you have it laying. You don't want to start creating your pleats and then you accidentally have all of your directions facing the wrong way or upside down. Trust me, I've done it before with Christmas trees. So what we're going to do is you're going to create one center pleat. So how you can do that is fold the fabric in half, pinch the very center, and that's how you know where you start. And you're going to take a piece of fabric and fold it towards that center you just pinched. And this is going to create half of that box pleat that we're going to create. And I like to pin my pins vertically. That way in the next step, when we do our basting stitch, you can sew right over your pins. So you see I did the exact same thing, but now I pulled towards the middle coming from the left side, stuck my pin in, and that's going to create one center square pleat. Whereas the rest of your pleats are kind of going to be half, they're just going to go in one direction. Now that we have our center pleat created, I'm going to pinch the fabric and move towards the center from the left side. And that's going to create a pleat that goes towards the left side. Same thing, pinning vertically. And after your center pleat, I'm going to make 4 additional pleats. Now, I don't really measure here. I do all my sewing like I season. I just kind of eyeball it. So I'm just grabbing and moving towards the center until I have made 4 additional pleats. Now that we have our 4 pleats in one side, as you can see, moving from that center pleat, it looks like they're all kind of facing towards the left side. So we're going to do the exact same thing on the right side, pulling fabric towards the center, but starting from the right. Moving on to our sewing machine, I use a Brother XM2701. I love the sewing machine, it does great. So we are going to put in a basting stitch, which is just a loose straight stitch that's going to hold all of our pleats in place. That way the next step, it makes it a lot easier for us. So I'm moving the stitch length to 4, which is going to make it a long, looser stitch, and I've turned my dial to 2, which is the straight stitch on my machine. And this is why I put the pins in vertically, because once I put the presser foot down, the pins sit right outside of it, therefore I can sew right over them and not have any problems. This button I'm clicking, that is allowing me to back stitch, which is going to secure the stitch that I made right in place. And I'm just making sure all my pleats are nice and folded. I'm not getting any extra fabric. And we're gonna go right over that. And this is gonna help us in the next step. Now that our basting stitch is in, we can take all of our pins out. This step I would definitely do if you're a beginner, because it really makes it easier for you when you're adding the brim. Because I've made these hats so much, I actually usually skip the basting stitch and I add the brim to the cap immediately, even though the pleats aren't sewn in, and I'll serge all the way around, but we'll get to that. So I flip the cap right side out, and then I take the brim and I'm just deciding which side I want to be the side that's actually going to sit on my forehead. And I chose the purple side with the carrots and the plaid. So now taking the middle of your brim, you're going to put that into the middle of that center pleat that we created. That way you know it's even on both sides. And now I'm going to use my clips, and I'm going to clip the brim to the cap of the hat. And we're going to do that all the way around. And this is what it'll look like when you turn it right side in. So I am using 2 machines in this tutorial. The first one was a sewing machine. This one that you're looking at is actually a serger, which does an overlocking stitch. Now, if you don't have a serger, you can absolutely use your sewing machine. Just do a zigzag stitch all the way around the circumference of the hat. I like the serger because of the overlock, because it also will trim off a little bit of extra fabric and make it even. So what I'm doing is serging all the way around and cutting off a little bit of that fabric as I go. And this includes the brim of the hat. So this is going to secure the brim to the cap while also doing an overlocking stitch. That way I don't have to worry about fraying. And I just like the nice finish that it gives. Sergers have these little tails, so I kind of lay mine over, serge right above it, and then because the stitch is reinforced by itself, I can cut it right off and it'll be nice. And so you see here that nice overlock finish. And then when you flip it right side out, your pleats and your brim look perfectly secured.
Monster, can you bring it back?
Back to the sewing machine I go. I am now moving that stitch width to back to 2, and I'm turning the dial to 3, which is the zigzag option on my sewing machine. Now, if you didn't use the serger, you'd obviously remain on the zigzag option, fold a finger's width at the very end, and we are now going to create the channel that we were going to pull our elastic through. If it also makes it easier for you, you can fold over and pin this and fold the entire bottom half. However, I just like to fold as I go. Now I'm just cutting off that string, and now you have the channel that we're going to pull our elastic through. So I'm using a safety pin, and I have 1/4 inch elastic. And I kind of just eyeball it. I usually pull about 6 to 7 inches of elastic, and that's pretty universal for most sizes. I'm going to take that safety pin, put it through one end of the elastic, and then we're going to feed that safety pin through the channel we just created. So right behind the brim where you stop sewing, there's going to be an opening. We're going to stick that safety pin into that opening and feed that elastic until we get to the very end. Tuck that piece in, and then we're going to do a straight stitch and sew it in place. So I want to pull a little bit more so it's nice and hidden. I'm turning it back to the straight stitch on my machine, and I'm going to sew just that very end in place. I also like to sew this piece with a zigzag stitch as well, so either one works. And you're seeing me backspace a couple times to make sure it's nice and secure. I'm going to cut that tail off, find that safety pin, and then we're going to feed that safety pin all the way to the very end of the other side. And this is going to create the scrunching effect that will help hold all of your hair in. So after tacking that last piece of elastic down, I'm going to remove the safety pin and then cut all of my strings, make sure the hat looks nice. Moving this sewing machine out of the way, and there you have it. So next I'm just going to inspect the hat, inspect it, make sure I remove all of my strings. Adjusting the hat so that it looks perfect. And now you have a plaid springtime Easter bunny scrub cap. And if you've seen my previous video, which was my 5-year lock update, you know that I have a lot of hair. So this cap works perfectly fine with long hair, and I use these same dimensions when I sew. So you have a Bouffant style scrub cap. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.